All right, cool. Did I have the agenda ready? There we go. All right. There's just one topic on here, but feel free to add to it as we go along. I know there's a few. I think there's 2 open AZIPs. There's 3 open AZIPs. So we can go through those if we have extra time, which I think we will. But Amin floated one thing on the discussion side. I don't think this is really kind of candidate for an AZIP, granted that it's out of protocol. But happy for him to kind of explain what it is. I'll link the post here in the meantime.
Yeah, thanks, Cohen. Yeah, so I think this is especially relevant given the discussion we had last week on the foundation releasing comms, clarifying to providers, to delegation providers, that they are able to change commissions. And so I posted a discussion on GitHub about setting a minimum commission floor on the staking dashboard. The short version is today at 5% commission. This is, I think we have 70% of providers all at 5% commission. At 5% commission, every provider on the network is losing money on every checkpoint. You are not covering your gas costs. And so the marginal delegation is a loss to the provider. And I've had several conversations with Cohen and others, and I've heard that providers are seriously complaining, which led again to the foundation, to Cohen bringing up the topic of raising commissions. And I think the people, especially feeling this are the smaller providers. For larger providers, I think that's fine today, like setting 5% commissions, because they are investing in market share. Your market share at any given level of reward and commission is what determines your profitability. But I think those that are feeling it the most, the smaller providers, are the ones that will raise their commissions earliest. And when new supply becomes stakeable later this year, providers who raise commissions early will lose market share in favor to larger players who are able to keep or afford to subsidize, their customer acquisition and keeping commissions at 5%. And so my biggest concern is the concentration of stake. Today, we already have concentrated stake on the network. The top 5 providers control or runs 50% of the entire Aztec supply. And so I fear that this will lead to further concentration, with smaller providers either exiting or just losing market share in the coming few months as more and more of the Aztec supply becomes stakeable. And so what I proposed is completely outside protocol, completely on the front end, setting a minimum floor of commission. If your commission is below that, then you are not shown on the front end. Delegators can still reach you if they interact with the contract directly or via third-party dashboards. The impact on delegators is minimal. A delegator today earns about 21% APY, and raising commissions from 5% to 15% should only drop them by 2 percentage points. So they'll still be making 19%, and that's really high actually, if you look at comps, including Solana, Ethereum, and various other L1s. And so happy to walk through the math and some of the numbers if anyone wants to dig in. But that was a summary of the discussion that I posted. Over to you, Cohen.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from others if they do have any strong opinions. I think from my side, and extensive discussions with Ano about this yesterday and today, in particular, a few operators that have been questioning their involvement in the Aztec ecosystem, given their the kind of cost base that they've been looking at. So we had kind of extensive discussions about this. 2 things that we came up with. One is on discussion from last week, we will be communicating basically 2 options. One is you can stick with whatever it is that you currently have, right, and update your commissions for anything going forward and keep existing commissions the same. Or this script and with this tool that I built can be used. So we won't be presenting any other options besides that. But it's up to the operator to come up with other options if they do deem that they want something else. There's nothing stopping them. Although the front end won't handle that, so then at that point it's up to those operators to communicate that properly to their delegators, with the kind of expectation that if delegators do come to us with any issues, that we will forward all of those issues directly back to the operator. On this particular thing that you're floating, I mean, I highly believe that we won't have big issues with operators, big operators cutting out or subsidizing their current operations to gain a larger market share. Me and Noah have talked about this, and we feel confident in getting at least a top 10 to update their commission to a percentage that we tell them to at the same time. And that same time will be sometime next week, if not the week after. So in the next 2 weeks or so, to kind of limit any exposure to a later unlock stage. Setting a minimum commission is a pretty extensive take, because it removes the market effects. And yeah, someone a big entity can come in, run their SQL at a loss to gain a larger market share, and therefore gain control over the network. That's a risk in any kind of decentralized system, and it's a risk regardless of the front end is displaying them or not. Right? They can still accept stake by building their own front end. So it's good.
Yeah, the question is let's say we say it's minimum 15%. Do the operators need to increase it? What happens with the ones that are below 15%? What's the effect on this?
Yeah, we don't want to force out anyone that doesn't want to go through and use this new system, right? So you can just update the existing kind of delegation percentage for new delegations going forward. But when it comes to enforcing any percentages, we're basically going to politely ask whether or not it's politely asking, and then more of a kind of jumping on a call if there's no if we don't hear any good feedback from these teams. But so far, I think most teams I have talked to a lot of these teams about it. Most teams are happy to kind of work with us on a more kind of flat line commission percentage without being enforced.
Yeah, but if we enforce this minimum from now on, and we accept that some operators are willing to lose some money because of market share, some will have the advantage of having been previous to this rule, and they may keep their 5% just to win this market share.
It's going to be a social market share. Oh, sorry, a social minimum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the recommendation.
Yeah, it's going to be a recommendation, and it is our expectation that the top 10 that are currently in the top 10 will follow that recommendation.
Yeah, and also if you are losing money and you have lesser commission than the recommendation, then there's an obvious solution.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. John, the answer to that is no. That's what I'm saying, at least. I don't think we should be enforcing a minimum on the dashboard, which is what Amin is asking for.
I didn't see your message, John. I don't know. Did you send it in the chat?
Yeah, it was just in the chat here. Don't see it. The Google Meet chat.
Oh, yeah, just in the chat.
He said they would be hidden if they are lower than 15%. 15% is kind of the example percentage here. And my answer is no. I think that's what I'm. I mean, saying yes, he would like that, and I'm saying I don't think we need it. But Emery, go ahead. I know you probably have a good take here.
Yeah, I would say we should like going it filtering it on the front end is like we're a bad precedent. Like we shouldn't do that in either way. Like if you are doing something like that, it should be at the protocol level, and if you are doing it at the protocol level, then that's fine. But doing it on the front end and from like in a sense of like, or I don't know, labs or foundations, but like as a main staking interface, that's not okay because it should be kind of neutral in general sense. So yeah, other than that, I think that's kind of okay. My only issue is, in general sense, what are we like going in the looking at the timeline for fixing this gas problem in general sense? Because with gas spikes and everything, like earlier 5% was enough, at least at certain level. But I just checked like certain like recent transactions and looks like they are not anymore. I guess Ignite gas increase kind of make 5% total unviable. But I mean, as long as this depends on Aztec price and like also at Ethereum price, there's always a way of this going bad. Even if we do like 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever we do at certain point. So, I mean, there will be always a point where we just might need to go like this. So that's why I'm asking about the timeline for actual fixing on this gas problem will be more important. But for currently, I guess like raising the limit to 15% is okay solution. Just as a final note, I would ask like currently we miss about like 11% of the checkpoints, and when the wave price hit 2, that 70 like the checkpoint success rate drops to 70 to 60%. When it goes to like more than 2, 3, 4, 5, then the checkpoint success rate proposal rate drops to like 30% rate. And I mean, in those kind of spikes, it's always going to be in the loss. And I don't think even like with 10%, 15%, it's going to be able to cover. So when we are like going like this, what is the expectations from these aspects as well? If we are going to like clarify this kind of a number, maybe we should also be clear about these aspects.
In terms of timelines, we're already working on just collecting the requirements, pain points. We don't have a timeline yet, but this is a priority and it's being worked on right now by several teams, including at the foundation and labs.
I think that the timeline Emery's talking about is the shorter term timeline that I mentioned, that for the tool that I mentioned, and that timeline is like early next week. It'll be communicated, and then the expectation for start date is about a week after that, to give teams time to integrate the tool into their stack.
Okay, if that's what you're asking, Emery.
No, I was not asking about that. Actually, bundling that tool with this change also kind of makes things very complicated for users, I guess, because there is like on-chain fee, and we are saying everyone becoming like minimum 15, but people who see on-chain 5, 7, whatever number they have, they're gonna get different fee rate because of the tooling. So I don't know, it's gonna get. I guess it's gonna get very complicated for the users, and I don't think that's a good precedent.
This will be supported in the staking dashboard. The staking dashboard will display whatever. This will be communicated in this description. So for the users, it should be fairly straightforward.
Okay, then that's okay, I guess.
I still do think that enforcing some sort of a minimum on the dashboard, even from a user perspective, like a user comes on the staking front end and sees, some message or sees that everyone is now at 15% because everyone assumably wants to be on the dashboard. I think for that kind of user that lands on the front end, it will be easy to explain to him why he's receiving less commissions. And yeah, maybe this is just a personal opinion, but in the next month, Aztec ETH price ratio changes. Is the foundation going to reach out to operators again and tell them, hey, we now need you to set the commission at this rate? Like, I think, yeah, I don't know if it's the foundation's job to dictate what providers should set. I see the front end dashboard as an asset or a service that's owned really by a lot of the folks in this room, the core contributors, the protocol. It's one front end, and so it would almost something implemented on the dashboard is just as much of a social convention as you said. Like someone can spin up another dashboard and has no minimums on there, but the official dashboard is kind of there's an understanding that any changes to the dashboard occur after a decentralized governance process, which is what we're doing on the call.
I mean, that hasn't happened in the last few months. I don't think that will be happening. The dashboard is owned by the foundation, and the foundation will retain its sole ownership of it.
Yeah,
so like suggestions can be taken into account. If we all agree on suggestions wanting to be taken into account, then happy to take those suggestions and discuss them internally. But yeah, like it's not something that can be controlled through governance unless it's on the protocol level. That's not how governance was designed.
So foundation in that sense like has full independence from the DAO for the websites that it handles?
Correct.
Okay.
But I do hear you in terms of the foundation shouldn't be setting a commission, which is that's not true. The foundation can make recommendations to the operators though, which is what it will be doing. Is there any other questions or things to discuss on this topic?
Sorry if there's messages, I can't see them, by the way, in the chat.
There's nothing messaged in the chat in the last 8 minutes.
So just a question. So if the staking dashboard is owned and controlled by the foundation, does the foundation reserve the right to accept or decline PRs into the staking dashboard?
To accept PRs into the dashboard? Yeah.
So if I submit a PR, because I had another proposal, for example, which is ranking providers based on their average fill rate. As Emre was saying, we miss 11.5% of all checkpoints because some providers set gas caps and some of them set them more aggressively than others. And so I thought that was one way to rank them based on their contribution to the network liveness. And so if someone were to make that change and submit the PR, does that not have to go through the governance of this call, or like how does that work?
It's at the foundation discretion. It's out of protocol. Anything out of protocol is owned by that particular team.
Yeah, as long as we can't enforce anything on like on-chain protocol level, they become like complicated in general sense to enforce off-chain. So, but
yeah, I think I'll echo what Emre says, right? If when we're talking about changes to the protocol that on like the staking registry layer that do enforce that add the capability of enforcing a minimum percentage, then totally like let's talk about that and we can add that to it. I think that's and I think you me and me have talked about that as a potential feature in kind of an upcoming change that we're looking to suggest.
And about the checkpoint performance, I actually worked on something like that. I'm just sending a link that explaining the scoring structure on the Aztec Vision dashboard, which I worked on earlier. And I mean, the checkpoint aspect is like bit complex because there are so many variables. Like over the time, you might be unlucky, so you might not getting like enough checkpoints, but also you might be getting very less, and that's why you might have like high performance. So measuring reliability of a operator is very hard task, especially right now because on-chain metrics are very limited. We just have checkpoints as a metric. We don't have like attestations which have direct effect, and most of the attestations don't reach to layer 1 because they don't allow by the node. They just discard it after a certain point. And with the pipelining, we also gonna have issue of earlier block missing actually affecting the next one. So we gonna need another new logic again to like make this work. So I mean, it's like very complicated thing, and I just come up with this calculation, which is I hope it's like the most fair valuation, but I don't know. People can have different opinions. The current website just in the web main page loads all-time performance score, and on the staking dashboard, it loads the last 90 day performance because I expect if like some kind of new recent like effect of not being performing of an operate tool is there, it should be at least visible on that kind of interface. But this is just my preference and like how I outline this, and making this like fair for the small, big, and all the operators, which is very complex because the checkpoints, rates, and everything is very random and like unreliable to like identify exact performance of reliability.
I think this is great. And I think for now we can just keep we can keep this in like external dashboards and hope that people will look at this as an indicator for who they should stay with.
I think the biggest thing we'll take a look on the forum because I mean I hear the biggest challenge is that if costs don't cover gas, people leave. How do we incentivize people? You know, if people set the commission too high, then stake doesn't go to them, so people leave. So how do we create a scenario and situation where people stay and cover their costs? You know, and I hear the amendment, like one is we manage the dashboard, two is we socially coordinate. We'll weigh in. I hear the challenge.
I think this is going to happen this week, so I think we'll be fine in this scenario, right? When it comes to like a longer term play, we can look into those minimums set on a protocol level versus set on a social level. But you know, it's going to go in line with what Emery said, and like having a protocol that doesn't have a minimum to then enforce a minimum on a dashboard that is being controlled as that is kind of the main dashboard where everyone goes to for staking. It's also not fully right. So we can make that a protocol implementation, and happy to go with that.
Let's also just say one thing. The staking registry is not protocol. None of it is protocol. Like the protocol is the rollup, the GSC, and the governance. And the staking registry is just an external contract. I can deploy a new staking registry myself, build a dashboard, and people can stake through it. And so anything that we do with regards to minimum commissions will not be protocol. There is no protocol. Like we have no delegation at the protocol level.
I hear that, but this is part of the L1 contracts, which have been deemed part of the protocol. So for now, this is considered part of the protocol. And I also understand that anyone can build an abstraction layer on top of it to do it themselves. It's fine. According to the standards of the kind of governance standards that we've defined in this governance repo, that this is part of the protocol.
I agree your sentiment of it's not being protocol, but like from just pipelining or like how general user flows, they like the main dashboard is kind of in space where it looks, I mean, for majority of the people or like user, it's like part of the protocol. Like they recognize like that or like understands like that. So versus any external dashboard. And that's why it needs to be in like a neutral way.
Is there anything else anyone has to say about this topic? I think we're mostly gonna talk through it. Cool. Happy to circle back if there's anything else someone else to say about it. But are there any other topics that anyone wants to discuss? I know there's kind of 2 AZIPs from the Wonderland team that are still open. Is there any progress that's been made on that side that we can talk through? I know that there was something around kind of suggestions that or things that have to be kind of updated in those docs, and they could be discussed again this week.
Yeah, we're expecting feedback, but right now there's no feedback, so we haven't updated mostly anything. We are currently working on the token standard as well.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Are there any other topics anyone wants to discuss? There's still AZIP 4 that's open. Is that something you were still looking to merge in at some point, Mitch? Oh, sorry, this is Mike. Yeah, sorry.
What's AZIP 4 about? Sorry.
L1 block header access.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, Nikola might have a comment on that. Yeah, I don't think it's moved forward with the design. I think discussion's ongoing.
Yeah, it hasn't. We have been a bit slow on this. I apologize. But the plan is that we have new version of the AZIP ready, which builds on top of Mike's, Mitch's, Joe's ideas about leveraging already existing inbox. I think that Michal has basically already drafts. We will review it internally and then open PR. I think it should be ready by the next meeting. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe Mike, if you want to go ahead and close your existing one, we can free up AZIP 4 for the new one that Nikola will propose.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Cool. Good to see. I'm looking forward to seeing those AZIPs come through, both from Wonderland and from Nethermind here. I think the last thing, unless there's anything else people want to discuss, is I want to go through this kind of AZIP 2 list, to see if we are in the state where everything is merged in and ready to go. So I think we can just go through the ones that are not set to merged. So AZIP 2, governance Cambric rollups. It's on Mitch.
Yeah, that is merged.
Cool. Then we have AZIP 5, optimize prover rewards for consistency. Will influence on part of the payload unless the payload was the payload created.
Yeah, I have a PR. It hasn't been created because I need to build the payload off the repo that has the fixes in private, so it hasn't been deployed. And also, I need to seek legal counsel on if I ought to deploy it.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, stay in touch about that, please. Then AZIP 10, add message signing and fallback public keys. Mike, was that ready?
Yes, that's merged now.
AZIP 12, reduce protocol contract sets.
That one merged. I'm like 99% sure. I'll double check.
Okay. Is it 14 multiple routes per epoch in outbox? This was Pala, I think, but maybe Mitch, do you know if that got merged?
I'm sorry. Yes, that one also merged.
Cool, awesome. And then AZIP 16, I guess also will be part of the payload. So I guess this is mostly all done. We're just double checking on reducing the protocol contract set. Cool. I think we're in a great position. Due date for the deployment of the payload is still June 24th, if I remember correctly. Cool. All right.
Yeah, payload deployed to mainnet is supposed to be June 24th.
Okay. I think there were some delays on like Aztec and R side for certain things. Is that still relevant?
But none that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. I guess we'll figure that out. That's good. Okay. We'll still aim for June 24th. So 3 weeks-ish from now. Right. Then unless anyone else has anything else to say, we'll finish it off here and then talk again next week.
Yeah. Also, those PRs did merge.
I'll update it. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Talk to you again next week.
Thank you, everybody.
See you.
Here's everyone.
Bye, guys.